The tropics of Australia offer sensational fishing. Share the experience as the AFN Fishing Show travels to the Outer Barrier Reef in search of large pelagics before heading south to Moreton Bay to target winter whiting. Nomad Sport Fishing provide anglers the fishing trips of a lifetime. We join their team on the Outer Barrier Reef and chase serious fish on surface lures.
Nige, GT popper fishing, tell us a bit about it.
Well, Bill, I've brought you out today because you haven't caught good GTs on poppers before. I know you've popped pretty much everywhere else around Australia. Big GT popping's been something you've been talking to me about wanting to do for a long time. So I got together Benny and the crew, and we're out exploring the Coral Sea. We're well guided by Nick Milford. Had a good night on the Odyssey last night, and now we're out here exploring all the predators that hunt out here with some great tackle. Got some
stick baits,
some very special
poppers.
lures from Nomad. We've got the lures and the cuberas and stuff like that have great success out here. So we're going to see how these things work. We're also going to put some very strong popping rods to the test. Cord from Wilson sent us out here and said, boys, try these. I like to see how they go. I test them out and he's very happy with them. So we're going to put them to the real acid test on the toughest of the tough, the Venom popping range. Mate, we couldn't ask for better conditions than this.
I was going to say that both at the same time, just absolutely perfect. Not a better place to be at the Great Barrier Reef in, well, 5 knots maybe.
And we've been well watered and fed. The energy levels are up because we're going to need them because this is not for the faint-hearted. And I reckon we're not going to catch fish here sitting in the boat talking, so let's start casting. All right. What we're doing at the moment is targeting reef edges where there's a bit of current, a bit of bait starting to stack up. Nick's up high on the boat, just using his eyes to pick the right casting spots. Anywhere we've seen bait balling up, we're putting lures in there, a mixture of these guys, and later in the day we'll probably get the poppers out as well and see what they tune into. Magnificent day. Where would you rather be? Nowhere else but here, chucking a line for the bruisers that live here. Onward and upward.
Yes!
Keep going, Nick, I'm right. Rod steady. Rod steady.
Okay, we're just going to nudge up forward now that he's just a bit off of that.
Gonna slowly lean on Nick.
Yeah, I'm just going to come up slowly there.
Yep.
You ate that on that pause again,
yeah,
right?
Just wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Pause, boof. So what we're doing now is working with Nick. We've banged a good fish on the point over there. And Nick's just driven us out into some deeper water. Give us a chance. Getting it away from the sharp stuff.
Okay, we're good now. We're in about 22 metres, yeah, so.
All right. There's a lot of teamwork and vision and communication which goes into hooking these fish. Nick's on the go the whole time, looking for bait, areas where the current's just getting deflected a little bit, so that we're really making those casts count. This is hard work when you're popping. You want to have the lightest equipment possible, but it's still got to be sturdy to hand up to these things, which means you're only fighting more than you have to with every single retrieve. You really want to make your casts count. Okay, we're getting close. Coming under bait. Oh. Putting these Wilson's Venom rods definitely to the test today. Cord's popping rod, he loves this, and you can see why. Very sturdy, soft enough tip to work things like stick baits very subtly, but comfortable to use. It's a big plus when you're battling fish that do their best to pull you out of the boat every second time you hook one. There we go, bail arms off. You good, Nick? Oh. Hey, give it to me.
Yeah.
So, and good driving, thanks mate. You didn't let me sit there and go, come on, horse him out of there. The driving bit, and I think too, you know, like something that I've spoken to you and the other guides and Nomad about, when you do hook one of these fish, sometimes really hitting them with the rod just causes them to panic and they just start going looking for darker stuff, which usually means broken lines, you know, to sometimes just keep that rod steady with just enough drag so you don't get pulled out of the boat, and then just drive them. You can lead them, you know, lead them into that deeper water where you can get them in the boat.
A bit out of breath there, mate.
I am, I'm buffing. That's a beautiful fish, all right.
Well, let's get him back in the water. I'll let you do the honours, mate.
To catch some of these fish, you very, very often need to get distance in your cast. Casting technique really comes to the fore at times like that, particularly when you're using some sturdy gear. Now, these venom popping rods are made for power casting and fighting fish. Start with, get a good hand position on the reel. Dominant hand, I'm right-handed. Gonna get 2 middle fingers directly above the spool. Forefinger, not choking the line, just holding it so it's ready to be deployed at that prime angle. Bottom hand right at the base of the rod, give you that prime leverage, right over my right shoulder, and then give it everything you've got and make sure you let that lure go at about 45 degrees. Should be smooth, but powerful. And getting that extra 10 metres sometimes, getting it right on that edge, not getting the boat too close, is very often the key to getting those bites.
Right, so we're just running along the reef edge here, and there's a blue hole just on the corner of the reef. The tide's dropping, and often you get packs of GTs actually trapping themselves inside these blue holes. So we're just sneaking over the flats at the moment. It's only 1 metre deep, haven't got much time. We'll just sneak in along the side here, and as the current's flowing into the blue hole, all the other fish on the reef flats also get thrown in the blue hole with it, and the GTs are waiting there just to ambush it. So we're going to just sneak up on this side, have it thrown here, and hopefully we'll see one.
Got him. Go, Nige.
Far out. Blue hole mayhem. He's driving this thing into some slightly deeper water. Just trying to keep his head up, because there's lots of nasties down there.
Did you see him?
No. Got him flashing down in here. Oh, far out. There he is. Pretty loaded drag on this one. So we didn't have a lot of room for error. Oh.
Good fish.
Good. Drags off. Oh, crikey. Blue hole chaos. That's awesome. A lot of current pushing into this blue hole. Nick skirted the reef to get us in and then just run the edge and just popping and just walking these stick baits across that first line of current. These guys obviously sitting there waiting for an easy meal. Like, this is one of the things you come searching for on a daily basis. They're a great hunter. They earn their respect on the reef. Yeah, mate, he's a juvenile by your standards around here, but they all pull hard and just magnificent sport to get them on the surface, see them come and eat a lure, and they all hurt you.
Yeah, mate, as you can see, they are the gangsters of the reef, as we call them, the bangers, and just total brutes. You can just see the way that they belt. You just got to be very careful. You can see the way Nigel's holding it at the moment. Be very careful of these sharp scoots on their tails. They'll just slice you open. They're like pretty sharp knives, so you just got to be careful of that. And yeah, just a beautiful animal, eh?
Well, mate, it's plenty of blue hole left to go.
Yeah.
I reckon a big one came and boiled it just before this one. I'd have loved to see that, but anyway, I reckon a bit further down the line.
Yeah, I reckon.
All right, let's get him back in the water. And he's gone. Thanks, guys. Bit of excitement. Bit of excitement, and he'll go back to grow bigger and angrier and probably get a lot smarter for the next one. Yeah. Let's go and find another dumb big one down there somewhere. All right, mate, let's go. punished, Bill. How you going?
Good.
It's a bit hard to speak when you've just been brutalised and you're trying to get your wind back.
It's not too bad. It's on the light rod.
We've given you one of the prime tools of the trade, Billy. First time GT popping. You're armed with the Venom. The Wilson's Live Fibre Venom, PE10.
That's good, thanks.
And the nice thing about them is, obviously you still got authority, but you've got quite a nice curve to them. Big guides to help you with that casting.
Yeah, exactly.
You've obviously been able to set a hook
Well,
quite easily, which is a big plus because GTs have got very hard mouths,
Yeah,
and he's
that's
punched that and you've given him enough, a good hit, so you've got the solid bit behind that rod to set those hooks, and now the rod's certainly helping you out getting back to the boat. I'm speaking because Billy's puffing
well,
a
the
bit. He'd love to
heavier,
tell you that himself.
yeah, good on you. The heavier rods too, I think, are more to work the bigger lures. I think once you're out here, you'd probably rather be fighting fish on a slightly lighter rod with a bit more parabolic action.
Good fish, Billy. Oh yeah.
Just look at that mouth. It's built for power. And these big pectoral fins as well. When they get in the current, very hard to stop them. So, rightio.
And that high stick and the stick bait bat works well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. I've got him. I've got him. Woo! Doesn't get much better than that, Nick. Get him airborne. Nice. Tide's just eased up. The current flow's just starting to dwindle. There's signs everywhere of bait starting to get nervous and balled up. And you know that someone's just flicked the switch. The fish are getting active. Everyone on the boat starts geeing up a bit. The skipper's getting a bit excited up on the casting deck, or the siding deck up there. And every cast you just fish with that little bit more fervour, knowing potentially something's happening this cast. Fishing the Allure 120, one of the Nomad stable of lures. It's a stick bait, and there's so many different ways you can fish it. That versatility makes it a great option when you're fishing waters that can throw a variety of species at you and a variety of conditions. And having cast it out there, you can get good perches on your cast. For a start, it's heavy, but then what I'm doing is getting up to the top quite quickly. Bit of a high rod angle, a bit like almost fishing brim and whiting in the flats, getting it up there and shaking on the top, bit of splash, and then pausing it for that second. I'm doing that for the first 10-15 metres of the cast. Often that's often on the edge, and then as it gets close, I'm bringing that rod tip down, starting to get it diving under the water a bit more, looking like a bait fish that's fleed from the edge. Then it's starting to get a bit low beneath the surface, trying to evade something that might be chasing it. And sometimes they'll whack you as that lure first starts to skitter and splash on the top. And then other times, as you start that big slow draw, that's when they suddenly commit and decide, looks like it's getting away now, I'm going to go and eat it. Very, very versatile lure. You've just got to use your imagination and your eyes, which often indicate the style of retrieve you should be using for best results on any given day. Oh, you've got him. What is he? Skipper's call. Skipper can see, eye in the sky. Billy's still sore. Billy's just missed a cracking fish, which is unfortunately what happens when you're chasing GTs, Billy. You win some and you lose some. And I've had a bit of a day of fortune, which is also how it goes sometimes. You win them and you lose them. Come here, Billy.
Well, mate, they've got to be big when you need two of us to lift it. Okay?
You and I aren't the biggest blokes in the world, Billy, and I reckon they grow bigger than this round here. Yeah, mate, the one that punished you before, I think had a bit more on this guy. What a magnificent day. We've just had the best day on the water with the Nomad guys, and learning, you know. It's like, get the opportunity to come out. You and I come from different parts of Australia. We fish for a variety of different species. Every time you fish for something new in a different place, the amount of information that you just got to store away in your brain from guys like Nick and the other Nomad crew, that will help you wherever you go, no matter what species you chase. You learn stuff from catching other things, I reckon.
Absolutely.
Isn't it magnificent? Time to put him back, I reckon.
Biggest fish of the day for you, mate. Fitting end, we can put him back. It's all yours.
Thanks, mate.
If you're out and about looking for a great place to go and catch a feed of whiting, Moreton Bay is one of the best spots in southeast Queensland. Shores that rim Moreton Bay, like around Cleveland, Wynnum, Redcliffe Peninsula, right up to Bribie, are all great spots where you can take your kids and grab a packet of worms and go and get a feed.
Whiting are a prized estuary fish around Australia. Gavin, Dunne and Tony Shao demonstrate that artificial bait can be a great option when chasing a feed of these tasty fish.
Hey, I'm out fishing with Tony from JML in Moreton Bay. Moreton Bay is usually associated with your snapper, reef fish, pelagic type species, but today we're actually targeting your bread and butter species, which are your whiting. We're fishing super shallow, like at the moment we're only in 3.7 metres, we'll drift back into about 2 metres of water. And most of Moreton Bay is an extensive sand flats, exactly the same grounds as we're fishing. And what we're doing, we're just slowly drifting along, keeping our baits moving at all times. I don't like to actually anchor when we're whiting fishing. There we go, there's the little fellas that we're chasing. This is only a small one for Moreton Bay, but it's the species we want, little diver whiting. There's actually a few different species of whiting that live in the bay. Your diver whiting being one of them, sand whiting, and your little rock whiting. But today we're chasing your diver whiting, which are the most prolific species and the easiest to catch.
Bit of weight. Oh.
Yep, these are the whiting that we've come out here to get. Like they're actually quite a big size for a diver whiting, but if you keep them over 20 centimetres, they're really good to eat. A lot of people know these as winter whiting up here in Queensland in Moreton Bay, but in actual fact, we're in the middle of summer now. It's 30 degrees and we're still catching them. You catch them all year round. As long as you target the shallow water, we're actually fishing out on a massive sand flat out in front of Amity Point. And any time of the year you can come out here and fish these shallow flats using a variety of baits and you'll catch these fish. The sort of gear we use out in Moreton Bay for this whiting fishing it's pretty basic stuff. Like you can use any sort of rod or reel you actually like. What I personally prefer is a 6 to 7 foot rod that's 2 to 4 kilo, very soft in the tip. So these are your standard rods we're using, 6 to 7 foot, very soft in the tip so the little light bites are easily absorbed. I'm running 6 pound braid on this at the moment, down to a 8 to 10 pound leader. It's a pretty simple Pananosca rig. So I've got 2 hooks with some beads, a little coloured sinker. Okay, there's a couple of different setups we're actually using today. The first being rig that we get from Japan. They come pre-rigged with size 10 whiting hooks, and it's very basic. You take it out of your packet, it's already attached to your sinker. Your sinker sits on the bottom like slow. It actually suspends your bait into the current, so your sinking's dragging along the bottom, your 2 baits are suspending behind, and it's a very, very natural looking presentation. Quite often we use different colour sinkers, like this is a red one. I fish fluoro orange, red, fluoro green, so I fish a variety of different sinkers and different weights depending on what depth of water. If you don't want to use a standard pre-bought rig, you can make up your own Pananosca style rigs like this one. This is just a simple homemade rig, sinker attached to the bottom, 2 droppers with some crystal beads, size 6 or 8. just do a swivel. About 40 centimetres long, sinker bounces along the bottom, your baits is suspended off the bottom. Quite often this is a very, very good rig to use when you're drifting over weed, so your sinker's in the weed and your hook, your baits are just along the top of it where the fish are feeding. But very easy to use.
Double hook up. Bring it in, Gav.
I think mine's a real one.
Woohoo!
Okay, you've seen us catch a lot of fish today, and most of you will be thinking that we've been using real worms as bait, but in actual fact, we're using an artificial worm from Maracoo. How we actually use them, they come in 2 different sizes in Australia. You've got an extra large and a large. So one's quite big, one's a tad smaller. And all we do is take them out of the pack and cut them up like you would your normal bait. So just cut them into pieces. So the extra large, I'll cut it into 3 or 4 pieces. The standard large size, same thing, just cut it into pieces. Once you've cut them up, I always return it back into the juice so they stay hydrated. But you fish them exactly how you'd fish a normal bait. And all we do is, like you would with a normal worm, feed it down the middle, keep feeding until your hook comes out the opposite side, and there we go. Bait's ready to use. Same thing with the smaller worm. It's definitely not as fat, so I've got just a standard piece. Same thing, feed it on like you would a normal bait.
Had a good couple of good runs.
Yeah, they fight well for such a small fish. But that's your typical scenario. So I've just caught a whiting and the bait's still in its mouth. With your standard bait, usually that'd flick off on the way in, so I can take the fish off, just reinsert and it's ready to go again. Moreton Bay, it's a place that I've fished for 40 years now since I've grown up. I've seen some big changes to this place, but the beauty of it is you can come out here any day of the week and still catch fish. These days, most of my fishing's done with my family, so I've got the young kids out here chasing whiting. I've gone away from the whole sports fish side of things where, you know, for 10, 20 years I've been using lures and fly and all sorts of things like that. Now I've got the little rugrats, we're coming out here catching a heap of whiting. They're always catching fish, they're always keeping active, and yeah, this place is just a beautiful place to come any day of the week.
To find out more about AFN or the tackling gear used in tonight's show, visit our website afn.com.au or like our Facebook page, AFN Fishing and Outdoors.